Welcome back, folks. This is going to be a follow-up to last week's video in a way. Well, actually, not so much a follow-up as it should have come first, because I had a request for a video. Somebody wanted to know how to help their rather worried horse get over fears and that sort of thing. And I made the assumption that they could catch the horse so they could lead it up around these things and that sort of thing. And so I showed a few methods that would work in that respect. But what I did not understand is, and they enlightened me afterwards in some repeat comments, or follow-up comments, whatever, they enlightened me to the fact that they couldn't even catch the horse. It was that scared. It was that early in the stage. So we got to go right to the beginning and catching a horse, which catching a horse, there's actually quite a few different ways to do it, but I don't use them. I'll talk a bit about some of them though, but you know, there's a number of different things you can do to help a horse get comfortable with your presence, including things like matching steps, which I talked about in another video and a few other people have talked about as well. Whereas from a distance that the horse is comfortable with out in the pasture, you simply right foot, left foot, whatever the horse does, you do. And then the horse starts to figure out, hey, this person's paying attention, maybe they're okay. That's one of the things you could do. Another one of the things, a very benign method, actually years ago I really wanted to do this one, but it just takes way too long. Hey, sweetheart. And I was going to show you on this one, but I don't think it's going to work. She's too easy to catch. But anyhow, excuse me, dear, can you please move? Yeah, you're just like the rest. Well, it'll be between me and the camera. One of the other ones that I've heard of people doing is, you know, they want the horse to come to them, you know, which is a really good thing, I think, in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways of doing that is you can go out in the pasture or in the round pen or in the paddock or wherever the horse is. Take your lawn chair, just plunk it down, take a book with you and sit down and read the book and just ignore the horse. Wait until the horse is comfortable enough with you and your presence that it comes to you, at which time you continue to ignore it, but so that it realizes, okay, this human isn't going to do a darn thing, I don't have to worry about it. So that's a couple of the ways. I'm sure there's some others too. I probably haven't even thought about at the moment. Those are just a couple of the ones that pop into my mind that are helpful. But I'm not that patient. I tend to be a little bit impatient. So I actually have done a couple of videos on the subject of catching horses. One recently where I actually demonstrated how to use a lunge whip to drive the horse away. Now, this is something that somebody told me a long time ago, is if you want to catch a horse, drive it away. And that made no sense to me at all. So I didn't do it. But I think it made no sense because they didn't explain it, because chances are they probably didn't have a clue why it worked or how it worked or anything like that. But driving a horse away when you're trying to catch it actually does work, and it does make sense. Because there's two factors that make you attractive to a horse. And one is the strength that, well, they like a strong leader. They like another strong horse. This one in particular, very herd bound, or was. Not so bad anymore. I just asked her to come with me, and she actually left her boyfriend this time. And as you'll notice, she doesn't even have a halter on her. So that's how easy, that's the difference now with this one. When I used to go out to catch her, it used to take me out in the pasture about 3/4 of an hour to catch her. I probably could have caught her a lot quicker than that, but that doesn't teach them to be caught. And if you don't teach them to be caught, then you always have problems too. But that is one of the things is in nature, and when I say in nature, I mean their natural way of doing things. It doesn't have to be a wild herd, it could be domestic. They do things exactly the same. It's their nature. Is if there's an introduction to a new horse to the herd, the first thing that happens is, well, there's a couple of things that happen, is one of the higher horses, or probably the lead or whatever, first thing it's going to do is going to come up and start making that horse move around. That horse isn't going to just come walking over and say, "Hi, how are you?" No, he's going to come over, and all of a sudden the higher horse is going to say, "Get moving." And that's exactly what's going to happen. And horses do not take offense to that kind of stuff. They actually are attracted to it because to them it's like a sign of strength. If you can drive them away, that's a sign of strength. You are worthy of being around because you can protect them, because you're strong. And the horses find that kind of thing very, very attractive. It also makes them think that, okay, you're in control of the situation. I can trust you because you are in control. And see, these are things that horses always find attractive, is strength, control. And I don't mean being a control freak or a bully or anything like that, some of these notions that people get in their mind. I'm talking about strength of character, and you can control the horse. Now, what I did with this particular horse here, this is the Worried Girl, and I did exactly what I'm talking about. And she was difficult to catch at first, and she's been getting a lot better. Sometimes I still have a little trouble getting her away from her boyfriend. And even in here in the arena, sometimes I lose her. She'll all of a sudden hear another horse call to her, and she'll go running off to the gate at the other end, stick her head out there and call back, and I lose her attention completely. And I have to repeat the exact same process that you do to catch a horse in the first place. And I'm going to show you how you can do this. It's very, very simple. And if you go back to one of my previous videos, actually, I think I'll put links in the description. One is one of mine, a very brief one. Another one is one of another gentleman. And you'll only be able to watch it if you're on Facebook. It's a Facebook video, not a YouTube video. My other one is a YouTube video. But both of them are very typical of how you catch a horse. And their methods, I mean, I've used a number of different methods over the years too, different techniques. When I do this out in the pasture, got my lead with me, because I always have the lead and halter, so I got this. I got a thing I can twirl. I can drive horses away with it. I can make them move. I can protect myself. This actually has many, many uses, believe me. And so what we do is, if the horse doesn't want to come to me, we just go, well, guess what? You got to move. And we just start doing this. And I might let it go out a little bit enough that it's just hitting the ground, makes it smack on the ground, and spinning hard enough that it goes whoop, 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 things like that. Anything to put a little extra pressure on the horse. And as soon as the horse turns to me, if it so much as stops and looks at me, I stop doing that and take a step back. Very simple process. And like I said, out in the pasture, you can do this. How long it takes depends on the size of place you're doing it in. If you were in something the size of a round pen, it might only take a few minutes. At arena, it might take 5–10 minutes. Out in a 60–70 acre pasture, it might take you 3/4 of an hour. It has, many times, but I don't care. They learn how to be caught, and the next time you go out to catch them, well, because the next time you go out to catch them, it's going to be way easier. But they find you attractive and they trust you because you tell them what to do, you have strength, and they like that stuff. So every time the horse turns away or starts moving any direction other than towards you, you step into it and start spinning your lead. Now, you can do this with a multitude of tools. It doesn't have to be a lead rope, because I have it with me when I go out in the pasture, so that's what I tend to use a lot. But if you were working in an arena or a round pen or a smaller area, you could use a training stick and string, you could use your lunge whip, you could use a flag, whatever works for you. And it's very simple. Like in the arena here, I tend to use my lunge whip, and in my other video, you'll see me using it. Do it exactly the same thing. I'm just going to step back a little here so I don't hit the horse, because she's standing kind of close. Back up, dear. Don't come to me. Okay. And, I'll just swing it back and forth. It makes lots of noise and slaps the ground. And it's quite light. That's why I like using it. It's very easy. I can get a lot of movement out of it. It's You know, even though I've shortened this one, the total string length is the same as any other lunge whip, and it's very lightweight. That's why I like using this one here. But when I go to the pasture, I don't want to be carrying anything extra with me. I already got the halter and lead with me, so that's what I'm going to use. And even just today, this same method I used to bring this one in, because of the fact that, as you can see, no halter on her, and eventually that's what I want. I want her to be able to come in without a halter on her, and I want her to, when I say, come with me, she's going to come with me. If she doesn't want to come with me, it's like, oh, you don't want to come with me? Okay, fine, let's go. And I'll drive her away. And as soon as she turns, and because she's learned this, because I've done it enough times with her, that she will try, she still tries to do it. She's one of the most determined horses when it comes to that. But given that she's been doing this stuff for 20 years, you know, no big deal. But you know, I'll just keep spinning it, walking towards her. I don't chase her. You know, you don't chase the horse. I spun it. She thought I wanted her to come closer to me. What a nice girl. What a nice girl. See how effective that is? I've taught her to come closer to me when I spin this thing. And so now, if I spin it, she thinks she's supposed to get closer to me. That's why she's standing right there. Goodness sakes. And I'm trying to do a demonstration and spin this thing around and show you how it works. And I got a horse in the way now, because it works. Goodness sakes alive. So anyhow, like I said, you're not chasing the horse, but you are going to put pressure on it. You don't hit the horse with the lunge whip, the flag, the lead rope, nothing. You don't touch the horse. You just slowly and steadily move towards it. You don't run around after it. You just keep going. It can run all at once. Quite often out in the pasture there, she'd be running a fairly large circle that would probably be about as big around as this arena is long. And I was walking a circle of about maybe 15, 20 feet in diameter, simply because I had to get around other horses and bales and everything else out there where we were. But she was doing all the work, not me. You know, yeah, I was a little, it was in the winter time, and I had to plunder through some snow and hay and manure and all kinds of stuff. But, you know, it worked, you know, and she did all the work. If she didn't want to come to me, I just kept, okay, you want to run? Go ahead, run. And I'll just keep doing this, walking around in a small circle, and kept her moving in a big circle. And if she stopped, unless she came towards me, if she stopped, I'd stop. If she didn't come towards me right away, I'd start again and move in towards her and chase her off again, basically. And when I say chase her off, I'm still a long ways away from the horse. Probably the width of this arena distance. Maybe not quite, but you know, a considerable distance. I couldn't have hit her with the lunge whip if I wanted to, that far away. But as soon as she turns and finally figures out, and this works every time, I'm guaranteed it works with this horse, works, and this is the very, very worried horse, okay? And so, I mean, if it'll work with her, it'll work with any horse. And, you know, I've been doing this with, you know, like I say, I do it because this is what I know. I'm not very patient, so I want something that works fairly quick. So that's one of the reasons I do this method, is simply, you know, because in nature, the natural way horses do things is they make other horses move. Hierarchy is determined by who moves who. So you're determining your hierarchy with the horse, and you're demonstrating your strength, which the horse will find attractive. So even though it makes no sense at all, because it didn't to me when I was first told to do it, you know, chase the horse away if it doesn't want to come to you. That doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to catch the horse. Why would I want to chase it away? But that is actually what attracts it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But it works, because that is, in fact, what attracts the horse. The horse is attracted to strength. The strength that drives it away is what's going to attract it back to you and make you trustworthy. So it's not going to be incredibly worried about it. Now, a few other things that I can talk about too is when you do finally get the horse to come to you, and it allows you to touch it. You know, don't run up to it and all of a sudden go, oh good, I can put a halter on now. Don't even worry about that stuff. First thing you want to do is you want the horse to trust you. You know, and I did a demonstration on this in another video where I talked about petting horses. There's this what I call the safe zone on their shoulder area. And it's kind of an approximate thing. I don't, you know, there's not an exact thing. But whatever you do, don't reach for the face. That's the most vulnerable, sensitive spot on the entire horse. Don't go for that if you're trying to make a connection with the horse, because that's just going to scare the crap out of the horse, and it's going to take off. And, oh, bye. Let's see if this works. I'm going to just spin this a few times and see if she comes back to me, because I lose her every once in a while, even in here, if another horse calls. And actually, when I do it today, I'm not even going to follow her around and put pressure on her. Oh, you stopped again. I think you should come a little closer. There we go. See how that worked? I didn't even move. And she came to me because I was swinging this thing. And she knows that if she doesn't come to me, I'm going to keep pressure on until she does. And this is where you have to be patient and persistent too, is when you're doing this stuff, is you can't do it for a couple minutes and go, oh, it's not working. No, it might take quite a while. Like I said, the bigger the area, the longer it's going to take. And it might take you 3/4 of an hour. I don't know if you've got a big enough place, it might take an hour. It'll depend on the horse too. You know, there's a lot of variables there in the nature of the horse. I've had some where it almost immediately clicked, never had to do it again. Others I have to, like this one, for example, almost every time I work with her, I have to employ this same method to catch her. Because, well, I mean, she lets me walk up to her, but as soon as I go, okay, I'm going to put the halter on now, and I unclip it from the lead, because that's how I do things. I put the halter on separately. And as soon as she sees me with this thing in my hand, heading towards her, she goes, I'm out of here. And I'm like, oh, okay. Here we go again. Back to the, and next thing you know, we're walking around out there. Although each time we do it a little less, because she knows what's coming next, that I'm not going to stop doing that. And so I say, you got to be patient, you got to be persistent, you got to keep doing it. You have to do it for a very long time. And, you know, it's going to take a while, but don't quit. Don't quit. And as long as you don't quit, eventually this is what you're going to get. Excuse me, dear. Yeah, you. This is what you get. See? I caught her. Oh, you want to go away again? I'll spin this thing if you go away. You know how that works. I just do this and let's see what happens. I don't know. I'm not doing it very hard. Maybe I need to do it a little more. Oh, take it off my neck. There. Need a little bit more of it here. There. Excuse me, dear. Oh, you're not paying attention. I'll make it a little bigger. I'll just keep feeding it out through my hand. Make the loop a little bit bigger. Eventually, I'm going to start hitting the ground. Oh, her head just turned my direction. She's still not coming to me, though. Hey, are you going to pay attention? No, she's obsessed with these big white bags behind me, these tote bags that were just put in here today. She doesn't know what they are, and she's a little wary, and they're right beside the door. You should have seen her reaction. When I first opened the door and she saw them, and she's like, what the heck are those things? Are they horse-eating monsters? She's a pretty nervous horse. She gets worried about stuff pretty easily. So, oh, I know there's something else about that little communication we had that I wanted to talk about. They said that the horse was 5 years old, which enlightened me to that much, and they also mentioned how old they were. If you read the comments on the last video, or the one before that, last one, I don't remember which one it was she left the comments on. You'll get all that information, but they said it was a 5-year-old horse, and they made some comment about, man, he must have had a hard 5 years. Well, that's a mistake that a lot of people make. And I talked about this in my video where I talked about dealing with abused horses, is a lot of times, and it's a very common thing, is when people have a problem with anything, they automatically assume that the horse had had a tough time or it's been abused or something like that. And that is not necessarily the case. It could be that that horse has had simply 5 years of no human contact. So he really hasn't had anything to build on. You know, he doesn't know whether or not he can trust humans because he doesn't know humans. It could be as simple as that. Or the very, very few interactions that you haven't been great, so they haven't really left a positive sensation. You know, that kind of thing. And those are the kinds of things you got to understand, because, I mean, this one here, she's been a bag of nerves for 20 years, and we're still making huge progress. It's slow, albeit, but we have made huge progress with her. And, you know, so it's possible. So, you know, just because you got a horse that's really, really worried and nervous, it doesn't mean it was mistreated, abused, neglected, or anything like that. It could just simply be partly that's just its personality, or it just really hasn't had a whole lot of human contact. Now, they mentioned that they had actually purchased this one at an auction, and I'm thinking anybody that would take a 5-year-old horse to auction probably didn't have much of a relationship with that horse at all, and in which case, that kind of explains things right there, is that horse simply has not had much human interaction. So it's a little bit wary about people and a bag of nerves. It's not real trusting. And, you know, especially if it has gone from home to home. I mean, just going through the whole transportation process and you know, the auction scene, and totally understandable why that horse would be a little bit worried. Now, see, her boyfriend's calling to her outside, and this is exactly the kind of thing that we deal with where I lose her in here, and I have to use the exact same process that I used to catch a horse, because I got to get her back to me. I got to catch her mentally now. It's not physically so much, because she can't go anywhere in here, which is why I don't bother putting a halter on her once she's in here. But this is very typical of the problems that I have with her, and how we still employ exactly the same methods. Her boyfriend calls, she answers, I lose her mentally. She usually runs off to the gate at the other end. Today she's going to the door because he's actually out that direction. She can hear him, she knows what direction he is, so she's being attracted more to the door. But already, I haven't even done anything yet, and already she's come back to me. That's how much better she's gotten. I don't even have to do anything anymore. She self-corrects. She realizes, okay, paying attention to him is a bad thing. I'm going to come back and be with you instead. That's a better deal. Yeah, isn't it? Yes, it is. You like being with me. Nice girl. But I wanted to show you how to do it. I can't now because we can't fix what isn't broke. Darn. Well, anyhow, I did kind of sort of get to show you a little bit. Not exactly what I wanted to show you, but to show you a tiny bit. But basically, you know, we've been doing with this one here exactly the same thing what you need to do with a horse that's extremely worried. In her case, she has had human interaction, but she's just off the charts worried about stuff to the point of being explosive, and which rendered her actually dangerous, because you never knew when she was going to come unglued. I mean, now we can do stuff with her that previously we would have been peeling her off the ceiling in here. Now if she bumps her leg on the barrel when we're side passing over, she might hop a little bit, but she doesn't get too excited about things anymore. She's really, really, really improved remarkably, but at the same time, and this is a method that you can employ. Oh, maybe we're going to get to show you. She's wandering off again. And again, I'm not even going to move. I'm just going to stand here and do this, because I don't feel like, I'm lazy. I'm just going to stand here and swing this thing. Oh, she's coming back. As soon as she turns around, I stop doing it. You see that? See how that worked? It's not easy, honest. And this is an extremely worried horse. And this is what happens when you because I've shown my strength. I made her move. I did all the things that horses naturally do when they interact. And so I've proven that I am trustworthy to her. And then once we do get to the point where, you know, we can be together and we start doing things together, then she starts figuring out that, well, I'm not so bad after all. Oh, and of course, true to my word, I forgot something too, but this is important. I can't just throw this into another video. I got to tell you about this now too, because it goes along with this. One of the other reasons that you're doing this stuff, and it's important to understand this stuff, because, well, the issue is actually a little bit complex, because you have to understand what pressure is to a horse, and it can be a lot of things. And horses are very, very sensitive, so putting pressure on a horse doesn't necessarily even involve touching it. You can do it from quite a distance. And one of the things that you're attempting to accomplish too is you want to make being near you a good thing, away from you not a good thing. So that's why you do it the way you do it, is when the horse goes away, put pressure on. And when it comes towards you, you take the pressure away. Then it very quickly discovers, because they're smart animals, they really are, much smarter than people give them credit for, which leads to another problem, is we create problems because we anticipate things being hard, don't think the horse can learn it, things like that, and that's not true at all. Anyhow, so don't make it harder than it needs to be. So when the horse is away from you, you put the pressure on. Not a good place. There's pressure there. Things happening that you don't particularly like. When the horse comes towards you, you stop doing it, take a step back, remove all pressure from the horse, and the horse will go, oh, wait a minute. Coming towards you or being near you is a good place. Away from you is not a good place. I think I'd rather have the good place. It's really as simple as that, and that's the kind of things that, if we don't overcomplicate stuff, working with horses is actually pretty simple, because most of the things that you're going to be doing with a horse actually are that simple. It's as simple as making away from you, not a good place, near you, a good place. And that includes, you know, something that, you know, I've said before too, is, you know, ending on a good note, and I think that's important, is just generally, whenever you're with the horse, make it a good time. You generally want to make it a positive experience, so that whenever, you know, they see a human, they go, oh, whenever I'm around them, it's a good thing. So I'm going to continue to do that. I want to be near that human, because whenever I'm near that human, I feel pretty good, you know. So, and it's really that simple, you know, the things that you need to do to convince the horse that they want to do what you want them to do, and yeah, you want them to do, no, they want to do what you want them to, well, you know what I mean. It becomes their idea to do the right thing, because out there, that's not so cool. Over here, hey, that's pretty cool. It's that simple. And that's really what you're doing in this whole process of catching a horse. And, you know, you're making out there a bad place towards you a good place. If you move away, oh, you want to move? Okay, you get to move lots. You want to stand still by me? Good. You get to stand still and do nothing at all. Just relax, chill out. Hey, maybe I'll give you a treat. Maybe I'll scratch you. You know, maybe we'll brush you. You know, and eventually, you know, even though those are things that, you know, the horse will not initially really be, you know, attracted to, eventually they will start liking those things. And pretty soon, when they see you coming with the brush, they go, oh, I'm going to get groomed. I like that sensation, because it's kind of like horses do with one another, the mutual grooming thing. You know, they're scratching an itch with their teeth. You know, brush is a whole lot softer. I'm sure they actually probably appreciate that a lot more. I know I have one in particular really likes it, especially, and it's really weird because use one of them face. You can buy these special face brushes. They're very soft for using on their face, which kind of makes sense in a way, but not really, because if you ever watch what a horse does to itself when it wants to scratch its face, it'll find a corner of a post or something to rub it on. So I don't think they mind a stiff brush. And I got one in particular that when I use the coarse brush on her face, she actually pushes into it and wants me to brush harder. So anyhow, I just thought I'd throw that one in along with the rest. And This is actually another day, and yes, I do change my clothes, by the way. I happen to have several pairs of pants, quite a few pairs of pants, that all look alike. And same with a lot of my shirts look alike. So even though I intentionally made sure I wore stuff that looked like I was wearing in the video, so that you'd think that, yeah, you know it's another day. The lighting's different and everything else. Camera's at a different angle. The horse that was running around in here, she's not here now. She's actually over in the other barn getting spoiled over there. And but thought I'd throw this in. You needed to hear it. The two basic concepts, put them together, and in no time at all, you're going to have a horse that wants to be with you. Like I say, once it wants to be with you, you got to go slow from there too. Don't get in too big of a hurry to make a connection with it. Just gently touch it on the shoulder, and then before it moves away, take your hand off, so that it doesn't realize that you don't want the horse to think that moving away makes the pressure go away, because touching the horse, that would put pressure on it. That's actually kind of an emotional pressure, just the fact that you're having physical contact with it. And before it moves away, take your hand off, and that can go a long ways. Don't do anything that's going to put the horse over the edge. Go slow, take your time. Don't be in a rush to get this stuff done. I do get a little impatient sometimes with some things. I mentioned that in this video. But at the same time, it's still necessary to have a certain level of patience. You just gotta. There's no two ways around it. Like I said, when it comes to catching, that one I've been working with, I've been doing this stuff for a long time with her. I still gotta occasionally do this, and it's one of those things. Each horse is different. So, there's no one right way or right amount of time or anything like that. So take all those things into consideration. So basically what you're dealing with is a worried horse of any kind. It doesn't matter if it's had bad experiences or just no experiences or just its personality. You basically catch it exactly the same. And like I said, oh, there she goes again. I'm going to go get her back. I'll see if I can catch this on camera here. Now, unfortunately, you're going to get to go. I don't even get to spin the lead, and she's already coming back to me. Unfortunately, with the glare from that doorway, this is exactly what I've been doing. Usually I have to actually spin this a few times to get her attention back, but she's gotten to the point of self-correcting now, so that I don't even have to do that anymore. I wanted to show you that stuff, but she gets a little concerned sometimes. It needs to be with her boyfriend or other horses, but she's sure gotten a lot better than she used to be. But I was really hoping I could give you a really good demonstration of that one, but guess not. You see how quick that worked? That was ridiculously quick. As soon as I spun the lead, her head turned to me. I stopped spinning it, and she came to me right away. That's how it works. It's not going to work that good every time, or that easy, especially the first time, or 2, or 3, or 10, or 20. Who knows how many times you're going to have to do it, but you get the idea. So anyhow, I guess that's going to be our video for today. We'll just talk a little bit about catching horses and how you can do it. And if you want your horse to come to you, make it go away. I know it doesn't make sense, but trust me, it does. It actually works, because the very thing that the horse finds attractive is what you're doing when you're chasing it away. And well, you're not even really chasing it. All you can, depending on the level, sometimes just putting pressure on them is adequate. Sometimes you actually do have to make them move. That's a little bit more extreme, but that happens too. And so always be prepared for that. If simply putting pressure on the horse by spinning something, anything, Remember, you can use anything. There's no rules here. You can use whatever's handy. Like I said, I like to, out in the pasture, I like to use my lead rope. In here, I prefer the lunge whip, simply because it's lighter and, you know, it's in here. And if I go out there, I don't feel like taking extra stuff with me. I only got 2 hands. I don't want to carry any more with me than I have to. And this is always with me anyhow, because if I'm going to catch a horse, I need a lead halter anyhow, right? So I got this with me. And it actually has a multitude of uses out in the pasture, so I always carry it with me. I encourage you to. Always carry a lead rope with you, at the very least, if not a lead and halter. I think she likes me now. How did I achieve that? Exactly what I just finished talking about. I just kept making her do things. Well, not making her, but asking her to do things and exerting my strength to the point where she kept finding me more and more attractive. And now it's gotten to the point where she actually prefers being with me over her boyfriend. And for a herd-bound horse, that's pretty good, because she's actually had a few boyfriends over the past year that I've been working with her, actually less than a year, but she's had a few boyfriends, and that has generally proven to be a bit of a problem, getting her separated from her boyfriend. But it's actually getting easier all the time. It's gotten to the point now where, well, today I brought her in without a halter on, and I took her away from her boyfriend to do it. So that tells you that the horse is finding me more trustworthy and soothing and calming and, oh, whatever, more attractive, I guess, some way, than her boyfriend. I'm not sure if I should take that as a compliment or not. I gotta think about that one for a minute, but so that's what you can do. If you provide the horse with the characteristics that a horse finds attractive, then it's gonna want to be with you. Even if it's pretty nervous and worried, and, you know, if you have the elements that create a calm horse and make a horse feel good, because what she really likes is she likes being with a strong horse, because a strong horse makes her feel safe. That's what the horses more than anything want. They want to feel safe. And by providing them with some kind of security, makes them feel safe. Here she goes again. Now she's going all the way to the other end this time, but watch, see how quick she turns around and comes back to me now? It's not going to work this quick, I can assure you. It's not going to work this quick for you. But this is basically how it works. And I've been doing it with her for quite a while, and I'm still doing it with her because of her. I have to keep doing it. But it's a principle that I've used for years with all kinds of horses, all of my own horses, other people's horses, and it works. And like I said, when it comes to catching a horse or building a relationship with a horse, might not be the only way. Absolutely not. No, I'm sure it's not the only way. I'm sure there's other ways of doing things, but this is the one I know. This is the one that works for me. This is the one I like, and I'm sharing it with you because I know it works. So that's why I'm sharing it with you, because I know it works. If I wasn't sure it worked, I wouldn't share it with you. But it's what works for me too, because I'm impatient. I want something that works pretty quick. I don't have time to be sitting out in the pasture in my lawn chair reading a book. Come to think of it, I don't think I even have a book to read. No, I've got one on horse training. Yeah. Or maybe I could read a shop manual. I don't know. Whatever. But, there's different ways of doing things. And I'm sure that there's a multitude of ways of catching horses. There's a lot of different things that you can do in the interim, to build a relationship. One thing I will caution you, though, that does not work, and many, many people have tried and still do to this day, is bribery. Don't show up with a bucket of oats or a handful of treats or anything like that. Now, I do give this one treats, I admit it, but I don't use bribery. She's got to earn them. She's got to do something. She gets a treat after the fact. It's kind of like a positive reinforcement thing, which is another thing that some people use, is they like combining clicker training or positive reinforcement that sort of thing. And I do that sort of thing too, but back to the bribery thing, it does not work. I did a video on that once before, and I said bribery does not work. Yes, they have food drive. All animals do, all horses do. It's part of their survival instincts. They need to eat to stay alive, and so they will. But if their fear of a situation is significant enough, it will trump what their their fear of a situation will trump the food drive. And so you can have the tastiest morsels on the planet, and if that horse is worried enough, it's not going to work. And believe me, it does not take very much to get the horse worried enough to say, forget it, that food isn't worth the risk. I've seen it many times. They're confident enough they'll find food somewhere else. Their survival instincts are not limited to the food drive. It's also, the fear is also a survival instinct that keeps them away from things too. So, and I've, particularly with wary horses, some people just sit down with a bucket of food on their lap or something, and if particularly in a situation where there are other horses around, that can actually be downright dangerous to do. You can get trampled to death because, especially if you're in a situation like this one here, where I have horses here, but most of the horses here are not mine. I haven't trained them. I don't know what they behave like, and there's no way I'm going to walk out there with a bucket of oats. That would be suicidal, because there's enough horses out there. They see that bucket coming, and horses are pretty smart that way. They see the bucket coming, they go, oh, food, and they are interested in that food, and they come charging. They want the food that you got while you're trying to catch your horse. You're trying to fend off a half a dozen other horses that simply want that stuff. The next thing you know, you get knocked down, you get stepped on, and you're dead. So don't ever use food to try and get a horse, particularly if there's other horses around. I wouldn't recommend it at any time, but if you do become a source of food, animals of any kind tend to trust you. So I don't think there's necessarily it's necessarily you absolutely can't use food, but don't rely on it, because the day will come when you won't have a bucket of oats, you won't even have a bucket, much less the oats, and you need to catch a horse. Then what do? So right from the get-go, not a method that I would recommend. And as you can see, I want a horse that I can just walk up to, grab it, and say, guess what? I'm going to put the halter on you now. I've caught you, by the way. That's what I want. I want a horse that's that easy to catch. I don't want one where I got to sneak up carefully with a bucket of oats or anything silly like that. I want to be dependent on these two hands, nothing else. And like I said, I got the lead already. I mean, if you got a horse, you're probably going to have one of these. So why not make use of it? I'm employing something that I've already got, and you're going to have anyhow if you got a horse. So I can use this to catch my horse without hooking it onto a halter or even putting the halter on the horse. That actually comes after you catch the horse. First you got to catch the horse. Don't even worry about the halter. Well, and that's another thing too, is even your approach to the horse, much like my last video, and I'll talk a little bit briefly about that, because once you get mastered where you can actually catch the horse, you want to be able to put the halter on. And one of the things you want to be able to do is you want the horse to not be afraid of this thing too. So that's another one of the reasons I frequently walk around with it on my neck, is because even if I don't need the thing, the horses get so used to seeing it and me with it, they don't fear it. Because it's like, okay, this is the good guy and he's got a halter, so I guess halters are okay. And if you got a horse that's particularly worried about these things, well, what you do is, very much like I said, find the threshold, approach the horse with this thing, and when you get to a point where the horse is uncomfortable with it, you go, oh, don't go any closer. And wait until the horse relaxes a little bit, and when it does, you go away with it. That doesn't work with her. She's gotten to the point where she used to run away when I pulled this thing out. Really, she did. She knew what it meant. But that's one of the things. Another thing that, and there's a couple different ways of doing this too. Like, once I build a really good relationship with a horse, I tend to put the halter on and then just clip my lead onto it. Some horses you can't do that with. Actually, her brother, I had to catch him one day. Didn't work with him. I didn't realize I did. I'm so used to doing it that way. But what you can do is, now there's a couple of different ways of doing it. One is you can actually take the halter, drape it over the horse. The other way is reach around, grab the end of the lead and bring it up. And once you get into this situation where you got the halter out front and the lead over the neck, basically you've already caught the horse, because if you hold on to the lead like this, it's not going anywhere. Well, shouldn't anyhow. But get this thing turned around the right way, and you put it onto the horse like that, and then you take up the slack like that. That halter is not falling off the horse while you tie it up. Now, some guys like to hang on to the long end while they drop the halter over. I like to bring the long end over after I've got the halter on. Word of warning here, don't flip it over. Pass it over gently so that you don't end up whacking the horse with it, because if you've got a particularly wary horse, you know, this thing flying over, if it hits him in the face, it might get him a little bit concerned. You don't want that. So basically that's one of the ways of doing it. If you're catching a horse, is you can use your lead to actually hold the halter on, and the lead, once it's around the neck, also acts as something you've caught the horse and you can hold it that way while you're putting the halter on. So it's a couple different ways of doing it. Now, she's gotten used to this stuff with me to the point where we can pretty much do anything we want. But, you know, just remember, you know, one of the things you got to watch out for is, you know, when you're putting stuff on the horse, is you have to be careful. Don't whack it in the face with the ends, because, you know, you got that piece, you got this piece, you got all this stuff. You know, you don't want to hit it, and you definitely got to be careful with this long end that you don't end up whacking it in the eye, because you do that once, and I'll tell you, it could be quite a few times before you're going to ever successfully get a halter on that horse again. Because I say every time it sees that halter, it thinks, pain in the eye. You hurt me. I don't like that thing. That thing's nasty. So anyhow, there was something else I was going to include in this video. I can't remember what it was now. So I'm afraid I'll have to wait for another time. Maybe I'll include it in another video. But if you got a wary horse, and any horse, you're trying to catch it, a horse that's hard to catch, one that's never been caught before, we do things exactly the same with a brand new green horse that we've never caught before, or a really worried one like this one. Exactly the same. Do it the same. Every time the horse moves away from you, put pressure on it. You're not trying to hit it. Just put pressure on it. You can stay at a distance. And like I said, out in the pasture, I always got this, use it. In here, I prefer to use a lunge whip. You can use, I've seen guys using carrot sticks, or not carrot, that's somebody else's name for them. Training stick, stick and string. And they work quite well actually for doing this, because the rope is heavy enough, it makes quite the whooping sound, and it slaps the ground very hard. The downside, as I've talked before, is I find they're very heavy, and it's really hard on the arm swinging that thing steady, because you might have to do it for quite a while. That's why I prefer my lunge whip, because it's quite light, and I can put pressure on from a distance without a great deal of physical effort. And the second she turns her head around, other people are a little more perceptive than I am. They might even say, if the ear turns towards you. And if you're that good, well, fine, I'm not that good, honestly. So I wait for that head to turn to me, and the minute that head turns, I stop spinning, take a step back. Excuse me, dear, get away from my camera. Thank you. Good girl. As soon as the head even turns toward you, stop spinning, take a step back, and you say, hey, how you doing, dear? Oh, by the way, would you like to come to me? Oh, you don't want to come to me? Okay, go run around some more. And you take a step towards them and start spinning your lead again. keep doing that over and over and over. And you might have to do it for quite a while. You know, like I said, depending on the size of your pasture, I have done this for up to 3/4 of an hour. And, but in the end, always worked. And I'm just going to share a little story. There was one day a while back, there was a horse that used to be here that I was working with, and wasn't always real good about being caught. So that's exactly what I did. Did the same thing. And of course, she was out in the pasture. Well, the owner showed up just after I'd let the horse back out. And she asked how things went that day. And I said, oh, I just spent 3/4 of an hour teaching her to be caught out in the pasture. And she said, oh, I'm sorry it took you 3/4 of an hour to catch the horse. I'm like, no, 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 no. I didn't take 3/4 of an hour to catch the horse. If I really wanted to catch the horse, I could have done that in about 5 minutes. You know, but I spent 3/4 of an hour teaching her to be caught. There's a difference. I don't think she got it. Very next day, I come out here, and she was ahead of me. And she'd just let the horse back out into the pasture. And I said, oh, so how long did it take you to catch your horse today? Well, about 30 seconds. Once I did it with that horse. And she went from a hard to catch horse to she could catch it in 30 seconds. So now do you understand what I was doing yesterday? Yeah, it took 3/4 of an hour, but that meant that forever after, it was only going to take 30 seconds to catch that horse. That's the difference. Is, you know, yeah, things take time, but in the end, they take a lot less time. If your horse is hard to catch and it takes you half an hour, or in fact, not long ago, I saw a girl actually go home without having done anything with her horse because she could not catch it. And so, you know, even if it takes you 15 minutes or half an hour, let's see, 15 minutes 3 times, that's 3/4 of an hour. It only takes 3/4 of an hour for me to catch the horse once and teach it to be caught. The next time takes you a matter of seconds to catch the horse. I think it's time well spent, even though it seems like a long time. So anyhow, that's it. I'm going to put a wrap on this one because I could babble on about this nonsense for days, hours, too long anyhow. But hey, if you got any more requests, any more suggestions at all, any kind, anything you want, leave a comment, like my videos, share them with your friends. Oh, by the way, there's this stupid thing. I don't even know if it's happening to me or not, because, but something called shadow banning on YouTube apparently, where your subscribers don't get notifications of your videos. People that randomly check your channel, they find them. So share the link to my channel with people or individual videos, because I have got lots and lots of subscribers, but I get very, very few views, which has got me very suspicious. I know they changed the way they calculate views now, but I'm also kind of curious that maybe people aren't getting notifications, because I did have one guy comment that he hadn't been getting notifications to my videos. So possibly, are we shadow banned? I don't know why. Apparently they reserve that kind of stuff for people they don't like. What have I ever done wrong? YouTube. Anyhow, I'm glad I don't depend on this for a living, because see, that's what happens, you full-time YouTubers. You know, YouTube decides they don't like you, poof. Yeah, all of a sudden you got nobody watching your videos anymore. It's that simple. So anyhow, make a comment, make a like, share, do all kinds of stuff, subscribe for all the good it does. I don't know if it does or not, because I've got a lot of subscribers. I keep getting new ones all the time, and yet very few people are actually watching my videos. So I'm not sure you're actually getting notifications. So my recommendation is check back to my channel manually on a regular basis, check my video library and see if there's something there of interest. Right now there are currently somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 videos. I've lost count, by the way, but somewhere around 500 videos. I generally put a new one up every week at least, so you'll find something worth watching, I hope. And if you got a suggestion for things that you want me to talk about or show you as best I can, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Hey, leave a comment if you want to tell me I'm an idiot. I don't care, just leave a comment. Hey, if you excuse me, I'm going to go deal with this one for a bit. I think she needs some brushing, and I'm going to put a saddle on her. No, I'm not going to ride her, but we're going to put a saddle on her. I'll explain what I'm doing some other time. Have a good day.